So this morning we explained more about why to meditate and a little bit about what is meditation. Now we go more to the practical aspect. Okay? So the first thing for us to understand is that the body is directly connected to the mind also. Even though the meditation is something mental, there is a correct posture to meditate. Sure, it's possible to meditate walking, it's possible to meditate sitting, lying down, upside down, whatever. But the meditation is a state of mind, this is no doubt. But the body helps the mind. There is a story of one important meditator, one of his disciples. He had one sickness, it exists nowadays also, but it's a bit rare, in which the organs are upside down. And for him, he could not meditate sitting correctly, so for him to meditate, he would need to go upside down, with the legs up and the head down. And then he would be able to meditate. I saw there was one tanka of him painted somewhere of him in this way, meditating. But for most of us, it's the other way around. Okay, we need to sit, there is a position that helps. So let's see what is the correct position to meditate. The first thing is the legs. Okay, as we sit down with the legs, there are different traditions. We'll explain according to the Tibetan Buddhist tradition. Okay, and the description coming from Marpa and from Gyawa and Sapa and the masters of our lineages. So first, normally we have our legs are crossed. But before that, in the texts normally say, first sit in a comfortable position. It can be seated on a cushion. Normally the cushion should be higher on the back than in the front. Okay, I like a cushion which is height more or less like 7-10 centimeters, but this depends for each one. And if for someone it's difficult to sit cross-legged, it's also possible to sit on a chair. The traditional correct posture is to sit with the crossed legs in what is called a full lotus or a full vajra position, which is with both foot on top of the thighs. Okay, which I can sit like this. Many of us can, but basically because I do this since I was a kid. So all children can sit like this actually, but then after we don't train it as we grow up. No? The reason why it's good to sit in this position is because it naturally brings the back to be straight. As I sit like this, I need to put no effort to keep my back straight. Okay. The other position is to sit with a half lotus, which would mean with one foot down and the other one up, which is the position that I like the most if I need to sit for a longer period. Okay. Or we can sit with both down, or we can sit, for example, in Thailand. They have the monks in Thailand to meditate. They have the tradition to sit with one leg behind and the other one in front. Or there is the tradition, some people, to sit with a small seat of wood where you put the two legs going down like kneeing. There are different positions. The important thing is that the back must be straight. Okay, so the first one is legs. Second is the back. The back must be straight. We imagine it like if there is a string attached to the center of our head, slightly pulling upwards. As it pulls, we imagine that the back is straight but not tense. If we curve the back backwards, it will bring us mental dullness, sleepiness. If we curve to the front and we are too tense, it will bring us mental agitation. So it's important to have the back straight but not tense. The shoulders should not be tense to the front or to the back, should be relaxed naturally. The arms, we have the right hand on top of the left hand, with the two thumbs touching each other at the height of the navel. And the arms should not be touching the body, but should be creating this space like a triangle. And as we sit within this position, if we are with the legs in the half or the full lotus position, it's exactly precise height to place our hands on our foot. But if we are not, there may be a difference between where we can place the hands and the correct height of keeping the thumbs at the height of the navel. And then what may happen is like Some people, they try to keep the hands in the height, correct height, a little bit up, and then they create a big tension on the arms up to the neck. So this is wrong. Okay, so it's better to have the shoulders relaxed. What we can do sometimes is to place like a cloth, whatever it may be, like a scarf, on our legs, so we can place our hands on top of it. This is also helpful. Okay, and then like in Thailand, the monks meditate with the two thumbs not touching each other. In Tibet, with the two thumbs touching, which is said to help to generate heat. So it makes quite a bit of a logic why in Tibet you need the thumbs together and in Thailand you need the thumbs separately. Okay. And okay, then we have 1 legs, 2 back, 3 shoulders, 4 arms. The arms create triangles, which symbolizes concentration. Then we have 5, the head. The head should be slightly forward, not too much to the front, not too much to the back. The head is slightly forward. Then we have 6, the mouth. The mouth is relaxed, where the teeth are not touching each other. And the tongue touches the palate, on the front of the palate. If this is the palate, the touch is just resting in front of it. And this helps us to relax the body, and at the same time, it helps us to avoid swallowing the saliva. Because if we meditate for a longer period, but even 10 minutes, after some time we need to swallow the saliva. And when we are really meditating, this is quite a strong movement even. So because of that, if we put the tongue in this position, there is no need to swallow the saliva. As one of my teachers, Drakyabje Dragon Rinpoche, used to say, he said, otherwise, if you're really concentrated well, and you don't put the tongue like this, then the saliva starts falling from your mouth, and that's not very nice. I used to say, for me, if I really am able to have single-pointed concentration perfect, even if with saliva falling from my mouth, I have no problem with that. But the point is that putting the tongue in the right position helps, okay? Especially that we don't need to swallow the saliva. Then the eyes, which is the 7th position, they shouldn't be too much strongly closed or too much wide open. If they are too closed, it brings mental dullness. If they are too open, it brings mental agitation. They are slightly closed, looking downwards. The direction of our eyes is like if from the place where we are, if we lay down in front of us with our stretched arms, that's the length of our eyesight. Okay? So we have 1 leg, 2 back, 3 shoulders, 4 arms, 5 head, 6 mouth, 7 eyes. And then the 8th position is our breath. We shouldn't force too much our breath. We should start by being aware of our breath naturally. We should breathe from our nose. And then slowly we let our breath to become deeper and deeper, possibly breathing through, how to say in English, abdominal breathing, which means where we bring the air below our navel. Okay? So, this is in few words the position of meditation. If for us it's more comfortable to sit on a chair or to put the hands lying upon our knees, that's also possible. Okay? The important thing, the most important of all, is to have our back straight. Okay? So now, we will do a short meditation, very basic meditation, but good one, in which we will sit properly, and then I will give few indications, but we will all start observing our own breath. We will first just try to be comfortable sitting in the position we are without moving. Then at some point we will start feeling maybe scratching at one place or another. Remember that there is a very basic rule, which is when we start scratching, then we need to scratch everywhere. Okay? So instead, when we feel scratching somewhere or we feel pain or something, if we just observe it and we say, it is impermanent, it is impermanent, it is impermanent, and we look to it, after not a long time, it will fade away. And if we are able to let it fade away, then slowly we calm down. As we sit like this, our object of meditation at this time will be our own breath. which is not the easiest, but also not the most difficult object of meditation, but a very powerful one. So we will observe our own breath as the air goes in and the air goes out. And together with that, whenever we have any thought that may come to our mind, and I can assure you, for most of us, after not even 10 seconds, some thought may appear, different of what we are doing. At that moment, we don't try to block the thought. Because if we start saying to ourselves, oh, I should be having this thought, I cannot meditate, I am not good at that, this thought should not be coming, why are you here, whatever, then we just make it worse, okay? So as the thought comes, we just let it be there and we bring our attention back to our breath. Remember, it's not a matter of concentration, it's not out of tension, it's out of relaxation. We relax our mind within the object of meditation. We do not create tension to meditate upon it, okay? So whenever a thought comes, we let it appear. And as it appears, we bring our attention back to our breath, and naturally that thought will fade away, okay? And we just bring back the attention towards our breath once again, okay? I will use today the help of the bell, the singing bowl, because as we play it, what we can see is in the first moment when play, sound expands. And then right away, slowly, it starts coming back again. So as the sounds the volume becomes less and less and weaker, it's like the sound is coming back. We use this to help us to bring our attention back into ourselves. Normally our attention is outside in what I am listening, in what I am thinking, in the memories, in this and that. So we just bring the attention back, slowly, inside of ourselves as we concentrate on our own breath. Okay? I would not give many instructions as we will do the meditation. I will let us just do it more in silence. Okay? Our eyes are slightly closed as we deeply relax in the present moment. We permit ourselves to be present at the present moment. We feel the weight of our body on the cushion, the touch of our hands. We concentrate ourselves on our own breath. We observe the air that goes in and the air that goes out. As we breathe in and we breathe out, whatever other thoughts that come to our mind, we do not follow it. We just bring our attention back to our own breath, letting it to become deeper and deeper, bringing the air below our own navel. keep the awareness of our breath, and slowly, slowly, we open our eyes and move our hands. So, as we just did this meditation, we did like 17 minutes, short one, but I think for a first experience for many, it's good. As we have seen, I believe it's not something difficult to do, but at the same time, it's not easy to keep the mind completely concentrated, that's for sure. That's not what we were expecting, that everybody right away would be able to have the mind perfectly concentrated. But still, it's for us to know that it's possible to concentrate, it's possible to meditate. That's the first step as we are starting. Then we need to repeat it again and again, and slowly we bring the mind to this state of more calm and more balance. Okay? My wish would be now to do another meditation, a little bit different. But one thing important in meditation, which is said in many texts, like in the Bodhisattva Charavatar and so on, is for us to be careful to abandon the objects of distraction. In order to help us to meditate well, we should have less objects of distractions in our daily life. Like it's not good to do retreat in a place where there is a lot of objects of attraction and objects of aversion. Or for example, if we want to meditate and we know that we have half an hour and then after we need to go to work or whatever, there we are meditating from time to time, we look to the watch, and then we go back and then we are thinking about the job and this and that. This is much more difficult. No? So it's important to have the right timing, to give the right space for our practice also. If we don't have that space, then what we have is that half an hour before we go to work, wonderful, better than nothing. Okay? But it's important to somehow give ourselves the right space to concentrate well. And then one other thing also, which is important, is like as we meditate, we may have our attention taken by our senses, like some sounds that we listen, something that we feel, whatever. So there is one simple exercise that we can do to help with that also, which is that one is as we are meditating, we breathe and we count our breath. So we do inhale 1. Inhale, exhale 1. Inhale, exhale 2. And like this. And normally the teaching says we count up to 7. And then if by 7 the mind is not well calm and established, then we can count to go up to 14. If it's not, then we go up to 21. If it's not, better we move forward with what we need to do next practice. But or we can stay longer until we feel that the mind come down. But an interesting thing about counting is that when we count, if we lose our concentration, we lose the counting also. Then, okay, which number I was, I don't remember. This means I lost my concentration. So go back to 1 again. So this helps also to keep the concentration. About our senses, what we can do is that first, as we sit, we start observing the senses. So we observe every sound that we listen, from the most near one as our own breath to the most far away sound that we can listen. Then we try to observe the sounds without naming them, without grasping at them. We just let the sounds be sounds and not be words and specific sounds of objects and so on. Just sound as a sound. And then what we feel the touch. We feel the touch of the body on the cushion and the touch of the cloth in our hands and everything else. We look at the whole touch. Then the smell and the taste we observe, which is a bit more difficult. And the form, as we have our eyes slightly closed, there is not much to see, but we observe what appears to our eyesight also. As we go into details about our senses, it's like if we have said, okay, now I've given all attention to the senses, is that enough? Okay, now let's concentrate on something else. And then first we look at everything without trying not to name them, but we let the information come, we don't fight against them. Then we relax within our own breath or whatever is our object of meditation. Okay? And then we will just focus on it. And then we remain on that object of meditation. Okay, so this is another tool that can help us depending on our own needs. Because if we are meditating and then we listen to some sound, who is that? Who is making that sound? What is this? What is that? And we start trying to judge and understand what is what, this is just making the thing worse. Instead, it's better just to go back to our own object of meditation and relax the mind from it. Okay? Well. Ok. La meditazione che volevo fare adesso è una fra le tantissime meditazioni che esistono, nel quale andremo a cambiare il nostro oggetto di meditazione. Siamo partiti dall'oggetto di meditazione che era semplicemente il nostro respiro e volevo fare una breve meditazione sull'amore. Ok? Perché ci sono, come abbiamo detto prima, la meditazione vuol dire autoindurci a uno stato di coscienza e familiarizzarci con quello stato di coscienza. Ok? Invece di stare a spiegare tutta la meditazione, facciamo la guidata. Secondo me è meglio, poi dopo ognuno la può ripetere quando vuole e quante volte vuole. Ci sono tanti modi di fare meditazione sull'amore. Quella che faremo adesso è una meditazione sull'amore, come si può dire, più generica, ossia che non è specifica di qualcosa del buddismo. Anche una persona che non è buddista o non ha interesse di seguire il buddismo, eccetera, la può fare nello stesso modo. Ok? Poi, ripeto, ci sono tanti tipi di meditazioni diverse anche sull'amore stesso. Però questa è una di quelle più semplici, ma secondo me tra quelle che funziona bene per tutti. So we'll do now a short meditation, which is meditation on love. There are many different types of meditations on love. We'll do now a simple one that I think it can fits well for everybody. Okay? So instead of explaining the whole meditation, we will just guide us through it. Okay? We sit in a comfortable position with our back straight but not tense. The shoulders are relaxed. Our mouth is relaxed. Our eyes are relaxed, looking downwards, slightly closed. We are aware of our own breath. We count our breath up to 7. We deeply relax in the present moment as we observe the air that goes in and the air that goes out. We visualize in front of us one or more persons that we love and from whom we feel loved. As we look at the person, independently if the person is still alive or not, we observe the love that we have towards that person and the love that we receive from that person. As we look to the persons, even though we look in their eyes, we concentrate our attention in the feeling of love, in the love that we have, in the feeling for happiness for others, and in the love that we receive, in the feeling of being loved. The two loves, the one we give and the one that we receive, they melt into one only feeling. Focus ourselves in this beautiful feeling. As we inhale and exhale. This feeling of love is at the center of our heart chakra, as a dot of light, as a source of light. The light of the feeling of love, it expands towards the whole of our body, reaching every part of our foot, our arms, fingers, our head, the whole of our body. From our heart, light emanates, and the love expands, going through all the people that we love. Touching the heart of each one of them. Feeling of love expands also towards those that we know, but we are indifferent towards them. And expanding even towards those that we have some sort of aversion. As we inhale and exhale. this feeling of love expands from our heart. And the more it expands, the stronger it becomes in us. And for us, it expands towards the whole planet, towards all sentient beings. Focus our attention on the love that we give and the love that we receive. As the light emanates, giving love, and reabsorbs back, giving love back towards us. We focus our attention in this deep and strong feeling of loving and being loved. As we inhale and from our heart, as lights have emanated towards all sentient beings, it comes back and reabsorbs back into our own heart. As we keep the awareness of the feeling of love in our heart, we gradually open our eyes and move our hands. Quello che abbiamo fatto adesso è stato generare un certo tipo di sentimento sulla base di come si può dire, un incentivo in qualche modo. Ossia, quando noi abbiamo davanti a noi qualcuno che noi amiamo, riusciamo molto più facilmente a collegarci con quel sentimento di amore. Quando abbiamo davanti a noi qualcuno verso di cui abbiamo gratitudine, riusciamo più facilmente a collegarci col sentimento di gratitudine e così via. Quindi quello che è l'obiettivo in questo è collegarci con quel sentimento per dopo espanderlo e creare familiarità con quel sentimento, non necessariamente più stando collegato alla persona o all'oggetto tramite il quale quel sentimento è sorto. Ok? Quindi, come avete potuto vedere, l'obiettivo in questo caso non è meditare sul significato dell'amore, ma sì è generare uno stato di amore e rimanere in quello stato, anche con l'aiuto della visualizzazione. Ok? So, as you have just seen, this meditation we have done, the objective is actually that of generating a specific state of mind, such as love, by using, in this case, someone that we love. So by actually imagining someone that we love or someone that we have gratitude, it's much more easy to generate that feeling of love or gratitude. Then once we generate it, then we concentrate on it and we can expand it and we can dedicate it for others, but we can then concentrate and focus on that specific emotion also. And by that, we learn also, then we disconnect from the specific person from whom we generated that feeling, and then we concentrate that this is something that we have, and then we can give to others also. But then we always focus on ourselves. So by this we get more familiarized with that feeling also, in this case with the feeling of love. Okay? So we could do this in many different ways. There are different types of meditations that actually we can do with that. Okay. So one thing which I wanted to just add was that traditionally, when we receive teachings about any meditational practice, like commentaries on sadhanas and so on, traditionally we should, between every teaching, every instruction, which is okay, we receive one teaching today, tomorrow we continue with the next. In the days between, we must meditate at least 3 times on what we have, on the instructions we have received. We must do the visualization. So, I ask at least to do once what we have done today here together. The 2 meditations we have done, if you can repeat at home today evening or tomorrow morning, at least one time, this would be very good. Because it's by doing that we learn, not by listening once, no? Second, just taking advantage of the meditation we have just explained on love, one of the things that we can do also is that regarding also what regards like the healing of our own selves, it's possible to use this that when, okay, we concentrate towards someone we love, by this we generate this strong feeling of love, and then we direct it through the whole of our body. We imagine the light going through each part of our body and entering every cells of our body. Okay? And this is also helping, and imagine that the whole body becomes completely filled up with light, and then the light goes back and reabsorbs back into our heart, while it still remains. It's like if it goes, it turns on everywhere. We feel it going through the fingers, the tip of the fingers, and every part of the body. And then it focuses again in our heart. We can also focus this on a specific part of the body that is sick. And we can focus specifically on all the bacteria and the microbiomes that live with us. No? There are more beings living in our body than human beings living in planet Earth. And every form of life, actually, when we treat someone with love and kindness, normally what reaction do we get? A kind reaction, at least. No? When someone treats us with love, we like it, and we react with kindness, with love. It's difficult to harm someone that treats us with love. It's not impossible, but it's more difficult. So if we talk about animals, normally when an animal, if we go towards an animal and we treat the animal with love and kindness, how does the animal react? Also with kindness. So the same happens also, I believe, with all the bacteria and the microorganisms that live within our body. No? Just for us to imagine, there are studies that say that 60% of our body weight is made out of microorganisms. And then after we still are able to say my body, no? When actually it's a whole planet. No? And anyhow, what happens is that just try. Make this visualization where you generate love and then you direct it towards all these beings living within your own body. and see if you feel any benefit from it. If you feel benefit, continue to do. If you don't feel benefit, forget about it. Okay? But it's something that which personally I believe, as a minimum, it will bring some more harmony towards the body and so on, but I believe it's also beneficial. Okay? Specifically, if we have some sort of sickness and so on, it's also helping in that. Okay? Well, I just wanted to explain briefly one other type of meditation. Okay? And then we will conclude for today. Or not. Let me see. Ok, facciamo diversamente. Questa prossima meditazione la spiego domani, perché sennò è troppo per oggi. E volevo concludere con un altro aspetto, perché la meditazione che voglio spiegare per domani riguarda la meditazione su come applicare l'antidoto, quindi meditare sulla pazienza, come meditare sulla soddisfazione, come meditare su applicare gli antidoti per andare a opporre la rabbia, la gelosia, l'invidia, l'arroganza, eccetera, eccetera, ok? Ci sono delle meditazioni specifiche per questo, che funzionano molto bene anche, ok? Ricordiamoci sempre che tutte queste altre forme di meditazione, più siamo capaci di meditare nel senso di direzionare la nostra mente, meglio riusciamo anche a fare le altre. Okay? Perciò la base è quella di meditare sul respiro, di portare la nostra mente in uno stato di concentrazione, per poi dopo poter direzionarla sull'amore, sulla pazienza, sulla generosità o su qualunque altra forma di meditazione che esiste. Ok? Una cosa importante nel processo di sviluppare concentrazione, quindi connesso direttamente con la meditazione, una cosa che c'è, come si fa per sviluppare concentrazione? Concentrandosi. Non è che c'è un grande mistero di qualcosa. Se uno non si mette lì per concentrarsi non riuscirà mai ad arrivarci, ok? Però ci sono delle cose che ci aiutano. Una di queste cose è il fatto di diminuire le nostre distrazioni. Più forti sono le distrazioni sensoriali, più difficilmente sarà per noi per concentrarci. Ok? E purtroppo uno dei problemi gravi che io vedo nei tempi moderni in cui noi viviamo è che abbiamo una sorta di dipendenza da informazioni superficiali inutili. Ok? Quindi se noi osserviamo sempre di più, passiamo parte della nostra vita con questo aggeggio terribile, no? Che è il cellulare. Di solito noi quando arriviamo a casa, tanti di noi abbiamo bisogno di subito avere una distrazione, un oggetto sensoriale, che sia accendere la televisione, che sia una volta era la radio, adesso la radio non so quanti lo ascoltano ancora più di tanto, magari più in macchina ma non da altre parti, sia il computer, sia fare qualcosa, avere un oggetto di distrazione esterno, ossia avere uno stimolo sensoriale. Purtroppo gli stimoli sensoriali creano dipendenza. No? C'è anche una spiegazione fisica per questo. E quello che succede è che ogni volta che noi vediamo una novità, quello va a generare una carica di dopamina. Ossia, una sensazione interna di piacere. Ok? Per quello che se noi vediamo vogliamo sempre novità. Diciamoci la verità, io non so quanti di voi usa Facebook. O sì, c'è qualcuno che non lo usa, per modo di dire. Pochi, mica male. Però io non lo uso, però hanno niente contrario. Però che cosa succede? Di solito quello che si vede, sia col Facebook, ma anche con le notizie, la tendenza qual è? Vado a vedere quello perché sono interessato a quello che succede nella vita degli altri? Vado a vedere le notizie perché veramente sono interessato a quello che sta accadendo? O è una sorta di intrattenimento nel quale voglio semplicemente vedere delle novità? C'è qualcosa che dico, ah, che carino, e poi passa, è finito, già mi sono dimenticato e vado avanti. Di solito è più questo, no? E cosa succede? Ci sono sempre più persone che prima di dormire l'ultima cosa, stare lì o a guardare la televisione o a vedere qualcosa nel cellulare o a fare qualcosa che va a portare l'attenzione fuori e va a creare questa dipendenza di stimoli esterni. Ok? Qual è uno dei problemi di questo? Più siamo abituati a avere stimoli esterni, sensoriali, più veloci e così via, meno abbiamo la capacità di approfondire le cose. Diventa sempre più superficiale. Basta prendere il telegiornale di oggi e il telegiornale di 15-20 anni fa. Okay? È sempre più superficiale, sempre di più le persone fanno più fatica a leggere un libro, ad approfondire su un argomento, ad ascoltare qualcuno con presenza, con attenzione. Okay? Ma questo è il risultato di tante altre cose che vengono insieme, tra cui questa dipendenza ai stimoli sensoriali costanti. Ok? E se noi andiamo a meditare, cerchiamo di meditare, e però siamo abituati ad avere tanti stimoli sensoriali, ci annoiamo. Quindi una delle cose che aiuta per poter meditare è diminuire gli stimoli sensoriali. No? Una delle cose è non vedere ciò che non è necessario, non leggere ciò che non è necessario, non ascoltare ciò che non è necessario, non dire ciò che non è necessario. Io non sto dicendo a tutti di fare voto di silenzio, di non parlare più, però non dire ciò che non è necessario. Lo so che siamo in Italia e che piace parlare e che c'è questa necessità di comunicare e di dire questo e quell'altro. Però, diciamoci la verità, il parlare di più alla fine porta più bene o più conflitti e problemi? Più confusione d'altro, no? Perciò una cosa vi assicuro, meno si parla meglio è in generale. Ma questo non entriamo adesso su questo argomento, se no c'è tanto da dire. Però il punto è avere un controllo maggiore dei nostri sensi. Dire ciò che è necessario. Perché anche questo, quando noi abbiamo l'abitudine di sempre dover stare a parlare, verbalizzare ogni pensiero che viene, ogni idea che abbiamo, a me mi fa troppo ridere perché ci sono delle occasioni dove ci sono un gruppo di persone insieme, no? E si vede a un certo punto, si parla di un argomento, ognuno deve dire la sua. Non perché sia importante per l'altro, ma perché la persona ha bisogno di dire. Perché ha bisogno di verbalizzare quello che c'è dentro, no? Ma io devo dire la mia, un mio diritto quasi come, no? E in realtà quello che succede è che noi andiamo in questo modo sempre di più. Avere questa attitudine è quasi come se io se non riesco a avere il controllo della mia parola, come potrò controllare i miei pensieri? Per controllare la parola dobbiamo controllare i pensieri. Se mi viene voglia di dire qualcosa e invece riesco a rimanere zitto, vuol dire che devo controllare la mia mente. Ok? Perciò si comincia direzionando e curando il corpo, per poi dopo direzionare e curare la parola, per dopo direzionare la mente. Quindi consapevolezza del corpo, consapevolezza della parola, consapevolezza della mente. Perciò, se noi riusciamo ad avere una maggiore consapevolezza della nostra parola, riusciremo ad avere una maggiore consapevolezza della nostra mente. Perciò, la cosa è cercare di diminuire gli stimoli sensoriali disnecessari. Possiamo benissimo un giorno vedere un bel film, possiamo benissimo un giorno rilassarci con degli amici, quel che sia. Non sto dicendo che non possiamo divertirci o non possiamo avere stimoli sensoriali, non sto dicendo quello. Però non quello che non sia necessario. Riuscire a creare i momenti nel quali uno si può rilassare. Non sto parlando neanche di meditare, sto parlando di ah, che bello che sono qua con me stesso. No? Un po' di silenzio, È una cosa bellissima, no? Invece purtroppo c'è tanta gente oggi che il silenzio non sa neanche cosa sia, oltre che quando dorme. No? Quindi quello che succede è, se noi riusciamo gradualmente ad avere un pochettino più di controllo, di direzionare meglio il nostro corpo e la nostra parola, quello ci darà un grande aiuto per direzionare la nostra mente e poter meditare meglio anche. Ok? Quindi su questo è un esercizio che non è semplice, perché siamo abituati a parlare di tanto e fare. Per esempio, è uno degli esercizi belli da fare su questo, molto utili, è quello di avere più attenzione, di criticare meno e di ringraziare di più. Okay? Anche perché qua c'è un'equazione molto semplice, che è più critico, più mi lamento, più critico, più mi lamento, più insoddisfatto sono. Perché? Perché più vado a criticare, più vedo la parte che non va. Quindi più insoddisfatto sono. Più insoddisfatto sono, più soffro. Ok? Ricordandoci che la felicità non è il piacere, è la soddisfazione. Ok? Poi dopo abbiamo l'altra equazione che va insieme è più ringrazio, più gratitudine ho, più ringrazio, più soddisfatto sono. Perché che cosa vuol dire ringraziare? Vuol dire sono contento, guarda che bello, vuol dire vedere la parte bella. Più ringrazio, più soddisfatto sono, più felice sono. Ok? Perciò, anche qua, creare l'abitudine di ringraziare invece di lamentarsi. Io mi ricordo con mio nonno, che adesso ha 93, pochi anni fa, 1 anno, 2 anni fa, un giorno ero con lui e sempre che chiedo, nonno, come stai, no? Lui mi dice, bene, sì. Pieno di problemi, non è che c'è la nonna che non ragiona più bene con la memoria, c'è il problema che questo. Quando gli ho chiesto quella volta, figuriamoci, 2 mesi prima avevano avuto i ladri dentro casa con la pistola in testa, tutta una storia terrificante, rubati tutti i soldi. Non è... Altri, la maggioranza di noi, saremmo ancora lì a lamentarci di quello che c'era successo, no? E lui ha detto, no, va bene, sai. Poi dopo un po' l'ho detto, no, sono successe un po' di cose difficili, però va tutto bene, tanto tu sai, non lamentarsi è un'abitudine, no? Ed è un fatto. Più ci lamentiamo, più ci lamenteremo. Certe volte io vedo situazioni in cui le persone sono così abituate a lamentarsi che certe volte finché non trovano qualcosa su cui lamentarsi non si rilassano. Non so se avete mai visto una situazione del genere. O per esempio quando la persona è così abituata a lamentarsi che anche quando c'è una cosa bella e tu dici guarda che bello questa cosa qua, deve trovare qualcosa che non va in quello. Finché non trova non riesce a rilassarsi. È un'abitudine. Come andiamo ad andare contro questa abitudine? Ringraziando, anche se all'inizio avviene in modo artificiale. Piano piano diventa naturale. Ringraziare vuol dire io perché ringrazio? Perché sono felice, perché quella cosa è buona per me, quindi sono contento di quella cosa. Perciò io ringrazio. E più cominciamo a ringraziare ogni cosa, ogni giorno, quello è una delle cose che va gradualmente ad aiutarci a darci più felicità. E aiuta la meditazione il fatto di trattenere una parola che sappiamo che non dobbiamo dire e farci direzionare la nostra parola verso un'altra che dobbiamo dire. Perché se riusciamo a direzionare la parola, questo ci aiuterà molto a direzionare anche la nostra mente. Ok? Queste sono cose molto semplici però che fanno un'enorme differenza. Ok? So, I like just to add one thing, which is the fact that for us to meditate, one of the important things is to have less distractions. The higher are the sensorial distractions that we have, sensorial objects that We have what we see, what we listen, this and that. The more space it takes within ourselves, and the more difficult it becomes for us after to have all the space for meditation, actually. Okay? So one thing to do is actually that of trying to have as less distractions as possible. So we see what is necessary, we listen what is necessary, we say what is necessary, which doesn't mean that we cannot watch a movie, which doesn't mean that we cannot watch the news, which doesn't mean that we cannot relax and do something nice. But this means it has a function. I am relaxing and doing something nice. I'm not creating a habit. I'm not creating a dependence, as many of us have. Nowadays, many people with internet, which can be or with Facebook or with whatever, looking at the news or whatever, there is the habit of always looking at something. When we are in bed or when we are anywhere, you can see very clear, no? If two people are talking together and suddenly one person needs to do something and the other one needs to wait, it doesn't take 5 minutes, the other person is already with the phone in the hand looking at something. Truly, most of the times doesn't need to look at anything. It's just a habit. Okay? So it's a habit actually of having these distractions. And one of the aspects connected to it is that whenever we have something new, it creates dependence, because when we see something new, when we experience something new, it gives us a small shot of dopamine, of pleasure. So we always want to have new things. So having always new information, new stimulation for our senses, this creates dependence. So many of us are addicted to our sensory stimulation. One of the problems of that is that more and more we go superficial on things. It's more difficult to have a deeper understanding, more difficult to listen to people more deeply, more difficult to sit down and meditate, just to be present in the present with ourselves. Because we are used always to have more and more and more and more external distractions and the stimulation of the senses. Okay? And we can see this very often in children also, that we give so much stimulation for the senses that at a certain point they are not even able just to be by themselves and to play with whatever toy, because need a lot of distractions. Okay. So my point here is that we can slowly try to direct ourselves to have less distractions. This is one thing. Many of us already do, some of us not so much, but it's something that we can do. And within that, there is also the fact that if we are able to control well our speech, this will help us naturally to control well our mind. Because if we are not able to control our speech, most difficultly we will be able to control our mind. So one of the ways of training this is following an equation which really works well, which is the more I complain, the more unsatisfied I become. The more unsatisfied I am, the more I suffer. The more I criticize, the more I complain, the more unsatisfied I become, the more unsatisfied I am, the more I suffer. On the other side, the more I am grateful, the more I say thanks, the more I am grateful, the more satisfied I become, the more satisfied I am, the more happy I become. Because happiness is based on satisfaction and it's not based on pleasure. Okay? And it's not a matter of what we experience, it's a matter of the habit that we have. I remember with my grandfather, he's now 93, and I think he was 91, and one time I asked him, "Oh, Grandpa, how are you?" And he said, "Okay, fine." And I was looking, and he had just had like a month before, he had robbers in his house, and they had like with the guns on their heads, and they stole his money, and my grandmother was still in the middle of the trauma of what have happened, having fear to be home, etc., etc., etc. It was not an easy moment. And then I said, "Oh, but didn't have..." He said, "Oh, yes, we had robbers and this and that. But complaining is just a bad habit." Which is true. Doesn't mean that he was not dealing with the problem. He was dealing with the problem perfectly. He went to look for security. He went to take care of the health problems. He went to deal with everything which was related with the problems that were there. He was not faking nothing have happened. But to keep complaining will not bring anything more other than insatisfaction and suffering. Instead, to be grateful will bring more satisfaction. So, it's a training. I start to complain, bite the tongue. No. I go to something, make an effort to be grateful, to see the beautiful side, to say thank you. Because when I say thank you for something, when I'm grateful for thank you, means this I am receiving something, means there is something good about it, I'm happy about it. No? So, in this way, it is something that we need to create a habit. It's not something that comes spontaneously. So the more we direct our speech, the more we are able to direct our mind. Okay? So once we are able truly to control our speech better, we are able to control better our mind also. For example, I do not agree that we need to make a vow of silence, of not talking anymore. But if we are able to keep for some time the vow of not saying what is not necessary, and even between two people, it's so beautiful just to be in silence together, you know. So nice. Instead of always needing to talk about something, you know. I know we are in Italy, and generally speaking, in the Western world, not only Italy, we speak a lot, and we always need to say. It's quite interesting, even when we see a group of people together, and there is some subject being talked, each one must say their own ideas, you know. It doesn't matter if it's useful for the others or not. It's just a matter of needing to say what comes from within. It's like, I need to give my point of view. Sometimes we just need, keep silence and just, okay, my ideas are good for me. I don't need necessarily to verbalize them. Sometimes it's good, sometimes no need. But to be able to control the speech, we must control the mind. And it's a way of training the mind also. Okay? So this is one advice also. Try to follow these two equations. The more I complain, the more I criticize, the more unsatisfied I am, the more I suffer. The more I am grateful, the more I'm satisfied, the more I am happy. Okay? Simple as that. So just to conclude, this morning we were saying about our conditions and the importance how our suffering and happiness is coming from within and so on. It's true, it's difficult that we live in a culture very often where it gives more incentive to the complaining than to the gratitude. But we need to put our own effort to make it different, no? It's like when I arrived in Italy, it was a bit strange when I asked the people, how are you? And people would answer, so-so, it could be better, I am surviving, you know? So each culture has a different way of dealing with it. But we need to create our own. We need to generate our own energy for what we want to become, for the direction that we want to go. Okay? So, as we direct our body, we direct our mind. As we direct our speech, we also direct our mind. So this is something that we gradually need to do as we move along. Also because, as we said this morning, the external conditions that most of us have are practically perfect. What is missing is not the external conditions. What is missing is our patience, satisfaction, concentration, altruism, love, wisdom. That's what is missing. The external conditions are practically perfect for most of us. Okay? So, let's start changing our behavior to be able to rejoice deeper, to be more happy in what we have. And this comes out of a change of attitude more than a change of reality. Okay, so we put our effort one step after the other, one day after the other, we are able to do it. Okay, so we conclude here for today. Now we will have a few minutes break and then we start with the Guru Puja. Okay? So we will do now, as I said, after a few minutes break, the Guru Puja. Just to say, Guru Puja is actually a meditation, but it's a sadhana where there is meditation with recitation, and it has 3 levels of practice. First level is how to recite. That's the first thing that we learn, the meaning of the words and the way how to recite. Second level is what visualizations to do. Third level, what state of consciousness to generate. So actually it's a meditation practice with recitation. But often some people stay blocked only in the first level thinking that it's just a recitation. But actually it is actually a complete meditation. Okay? Jetsun lame kutse rabten chi namkar chinle chochur gepadang losan tempe drume sasungi drove munsel tatu negyurchi Nimo dele tsendele nime kuyan delekshim taktu delekpe koncho sumki jingilo koncho sumge trashishu. At dawn or dusk, at night or midday, may the three jewels grant us their blessings. May they help us to achieve all realizations and spring all the path of our lives with various signs of auspiciousness.